Today, we're testing 100 ways to make instant ramen. Instant ramen is one of the most beloved foods in the world, and everyone has a recipe they swear by. But is it actually good? We're trying everything, from simple Korean classics.
If I was hungover and I got this, I think I'd end up drinking more.
Viral TikTok hacks.
If the world is ending, this is what I'm eating every single night.
And even fancy Michelin-worthy recipes. This is ramen that I call Michelin-worthy. The rules are simple. Every bowl gets a score out of 10, and by the end, we'll know which one is the true queen of instant ramen. Hiya! Let's start with a little bit of ramen history. Instant noodles were created by this guy, Momofuku Ando, who was also the CEO of Nissin Foods. In 1958, Japan was still recovering from war when Momofuku Ando set out to make ramen cheap and shelf-stable. After countless tries, his breakthrough came from watching his wife fry tempura, the same fry-drying technique that created instant ramen. That brings us to our first method. We're starting with a classic cup noodles. For this one, I'm going with Korea's #1 most popular, Shin. Open it to the fill line, add the soup packet, and pour in hot water to the inner mark. The Korean trick here is to use wooden chopsticks as a little clip to keep the lid sealed. After 3 minutes, mix well and slurp away. Cup noodles are every Korean's emergency food abroad when we miss a quick hit of broth. It's classy and sassy, 6.7 out of 10. Another way to enjoy cup noodles is by microwave, but always check the package. Not all cups are microwave safe, as you can look it here versus look it there. For this one, I'm using Shin Black, the quote-unquote premium version of Shin. It comes with the extra black pepper packet that you add after the noodles are cooked. Microwave instructions are the same. Add the soup packet, pour hot water to the line, then microwave for
2 minutos.
Compared to the regular cup, it only saves you about 2 minutes, but you still have to do the whole hot water routine, but the noodles are noticeably bouncier. 6.9 out of 10. Not gonna lie, I do like the creaminess and the extra black pepper notes coming from Shin Black, but with the bone broth packet, it's also less spicier, so try for yourselves which one you like better and let me know. Now we're moving on to bag ramen. The biggest difference between bag ramen and cup ramen is the noodles. Bag ramen noodles are thicker and have a chewier bite, while cup noodles are much thinner. That's because bag noodles are meant to be boiled on stovetop, so they're made sturdier to handle long cook without turning mushy. Cup noodles, on the other hand, are fried longer during processing, so they soften faster, which also makes them a little greasier. For bag ramen, don't get creative trying to eyeball water. Please, for love of God, just follow the package directions and add the noodles when the water is boiling, hot, along with the soup packet and the flakes. Now, another Korean trick here is the little crumbs left over go straight into your mouth to be a little crunchy appetizer while you wait for the noodles to cook. Follow the cook time, and for Shin,
It says exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Obviously, don't burn yourself like I did, and first slurping, immediately you'll know that these noodles are bouncy as hell, man! Broth is also tasting a lot cleaner since the noodles are slightly fried. Overall, completely blows cup ramen out of the water. 7.2 out of 10. Our next ramen hack is a classic that started in the army.
Not BTS army, but like army. 차렷!
It's an emergency ramen hack where instead of boiling noodles, you cook it directly by pouring soup packet and water into a half-open bag of noodles.
Oh, it's so hot. You can smell burnt plastic.
The result is half-cooked, half-raw noodles. And not gonna lie, I wasn't too keen on the warm plastic smell coming from the outside packaging because I don't want to have a kid with 3 eyes and 4 legs popping out of me if I ever decide to have kids.
Pretty bad, but not as bad as serving mandatory military service.
So a 2 out of 10. Now we're getting to talk about the fun stuff, toppings. When it comes to ramen toppings, the undeniable king is egg. We're testing 4 ways. First is just egg cracked in. Very simple, cook the noodles and crack the egg in. A minute before the noodles are done cooking, then close the lid briefly to let the white set, and voila. Easy, classic, and the best part is the poached egg nestled inside your noodles waiting to be uncovered.
Egg. Definitely much better than army ramen.
A solid 7.5. Second is cracked, stirred, and poured, and the result is fluffy clouds of egg strands that float to the surface like this. I really like this one, so a 7.7 out of 10.
More fluffy and light.
Third is cracked, stirred, and poured, then stirred like a madman. The result is a creamy looking broth with egg particles dispersed fine. Personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of this one because I like my broth clean, and I don't like how eggy everything turned out. 6.8 out of 10. Last egg noodle hack is for people who are done finishing their ramen but still want to get their protein in your cup noodles. The one I'm eating today is literally just called cup noodles, and this is considered to be kind of like a diet ramen in Korea because it's supposed to be only 150 calories. Is it delicious on its own? It's okay. But when you have this while on a diet, it's gonna be the best damn tasting thing. But the portion is definitely tiny, so when you're kind of done with it, you end up persuading yourself that you didn't get enough protein today. So you get 2 eggs, crack it in, mix well, microwave it for 3.5 minutes, and the result is a beautiful puffy jiggly mixture. 7.5 points for ingenuity.
When it comes to toppings, there's a lot of different schools of thought, but these are the classics.
Green chili, green onion, garlic, kimchi, seafood, tteok, mandu, cheese, and spam. These are all the common toppings you'll find at Korean fast food restaurants, which you can add for $1 extra. Let's test all of them, and let me tell you my favorite. Green pepper ramen, popular with the ajashis, aka middle-aged men over the age of 40.
Different type of spiciness, but a freshness at the end, but spicy.
Green onion ramen, a bitch to chop, but very pretty.
More aesthetics than function.
Garlic ramen, enough to kill a small Victorian child. You can never have enough garlic. Sweatshirt available at dubimart.com.
Wow. Kevin's definitely not gonna give me a kiss tonight, but I think it's definitely worth it.
Kimchi ramen. Only half of the soup packet goes in because we're supplementing that sodium level with kimchi. Good, but I prefer my kimchi to be like your divorced dad, separated. Seafood ramen. Fresh is best, but I went with frozen because we're in a recession, babe.
Seafood itself, not so great, but it's done its deed to flavor the broth. Good job, Ariel's friends.
Dong ramen, aka rice cake ramen. Add almost immediately after the noodles start to untangle to let it cook through.
Rice cake is good, ramen is good, but rice cake and ramen, choose a lane, man. Choose which carb you're gonna go with and commit.
Mandu ramen, definition of kill 2 birds with 1 stone because you have to do less dishes. Tastes like what you'd expect, mandu and ramen. Cheese ramen, a fan favorite for many students, and it has to be plastic cheese.
But you know what this tastes like? It tastes like the best bone broth simmered down by like an old granny for 100 hours and then put into the ramen broth. And there's science to it because plastic cheese is made with gelatin. So as it melts away, it has a white emulsified broth that makes it so creamy, binding the fats to the broth.
Spam ramen, eeny meeny miny mo. Best is just to scoop it up straight from the can because you don't want to make more dishes. This is the OG way, but the end result, it kind of looks like a spam tongue.
Ooh, not super salty. Too much without rice. Oh man, I'm gonna be so puffy tomorrow from all the sodium. Of the classics, I'm split between green pepper and cheese. Cheese used to be my favorite, but now I've matured, so I'm going with green pepper. It adds another level of fruitiness and freshness to the broth that cannot be matched.
8 out of 10, but wait, does that mean I got old man taste buds? Butter ramen and sesame oil ramen is a classic hack beloved by many college students, so let's put it to the test. Our control variable here will be this cup ramen, so let's compare.
Okay. But is it necessary? That's my question. It doesn't feel intentional. I think I like the original better. It's good, but I feel like it overpowers the ramen. Like I want to taste what the broth tastes like, not just sesame oil.
Personally, not my favorite. 5 out of 10 for butter and 5.1 for sesame oil.
This next ramen recipe is one by a 3 Michelin star chef in Korea that was also on Black and White Chef. Roasted garlic ramen.
In 600 mils of water goes in roasted garlic that I roasted in the oven at 190 degrees for 40 minutes. The trick is to put the whole garlic with the peel so that the natural sweetness seeps into the broth, then add the soup packet in, letting it simmer for additional 5 minutes to infuse the flavors. At this point, you want to take the garlic out and give it a good squeeze. I don't know why, but this was triggering my trypophobia and sensory issues, but for garlic, we persevere. Make sure to get everything out and discard the peel. Then you want to cook the ramen noodles to package directions, and you can see little strands of confit garlic chunks in the broth.
There's a subtle sweetness and smokiness coming from the roasted garlic, but is it worth the effort? No.
6 out of 10 because it took 1 hour of my life.
It's always bulking season. At least for Kevin, not me. It's always carb season.
Key to our Brotein ramen is when the noodles are halfway done cooking, pour out excess water, put it back on the stove, and crack open a can of tuna and add it in along with the egg cracked in the center. Cover it for a quick minute to let the white set, and after this is what she looks like. Add a little bit of seasoning packet to your liking, then mix everything together to combine, and you're left with a thick, runny, yolky ramen with chunks of protein ready for your gains.
Very, very nice. Creaminess of the egg yolk, and you have the bite from the tuna. This is a meal that I'll walk away feeling very, very full.
A solid 7.7 out of 10. The next ramen we're going with is called Hangover ramen. This is what we eat to atone for the sins from the night before, and it all starts with
This is my stash of fish heads.
This is a staple ingredient in many Korean households and is essentially a dried cod head known to have purifying qualities. We're also adding in radish and leek to flavor the broth with extra clean flavors, and after 10 minutes of simmering,
You've done well.
discard the fish head and radish, and in goes the ramen noodles along with the seasoning packet. I've gone with Ramen for my choice of brand, which is one of the spicier ramen brands available in Korea, to jumpstart my dull taste buds, and throwing in sprouted soybeans 30 seconds before the noodles are done cooking so it still stays nice and crunchy, also known to have extra purifying qualities.
If I was hungover and I got this, I think I'd end up drinking more. This broth calls for soju. Do we have soju at home?
This is my favorite so far.
Damn.
Spicy.
Let's say you're almost done eating ramen but still feeling a little bit hungry and you have some leftover broth. Let me show you how to make ramjook.
Heat up your leftover broth, and once it comes up to temperature, add in a big bowl of white rice. Crack in an egg and use the back of your ladle to break it apart so it cooks into a fine, silky, eggy ribbon throughout the porridge. Finish with seaweed flakes and a healthy drizzle of sesame oil.
It's comforting, it's good use of leftovers, and it's super flavorful because the base is made obviously from a ramen soup packet. It's a win-win-win. I love rice.
Ramjook gets a 7.3 out of 10. For our next ramen, I'm ripping open my favorite brand for brothy ramen, Noguri. If you like deep umami seafood flavors like me, this is the ramen for you. For this recipe, you only want to put in half of the seasoning packet because we're supplementing the saltiness with Dwenjang. Dwenjang is a Korean fermented soybean paste that's funky, deep, and umami. If you've never had it before, it tastes a little similar to red miso. And because I ain't no freaking wuss, we're also adding in some green chili for an extra kick of spice. As a general rule of thumb, the saltier or thicker your soup base is, the thicker your noodles should be. Noguri has probably the thickest noodles out of all commercially available ramen in Korea, so it was the perfect for a saltier soup base like this one. The seaweed flakes here, along with the Dwenjang, adds an immense deep umami flavor to this ramen, and if you don't have Dwenjang at home, try it with red miso, though it'll be a tiny bit sweeter. This recipe is my dad's favorite, and it was my first time trying it, but a surprising 8.2 out of 10. For our next ramen, we're using a chicken flavored ramen. This one tastes pretty similar to Nissin's chicken flavor, except it has a little spicy kick at the end because we're Korean. The best part about these mild flavor ramens is that they work as a great base to layer flavors onto. So we're adding golden kare. These are Japanese curry blocks, super easy to find. They look like chocolate, but they're actually roux-based curry bricks that thickens broths. Add it to a couple ladles of chicken ramen broth to meld, and the end result is a simple curry ramen that makes you feel like you've transported to a late-night izakaya in Japan. I love curry, probably because I'm Korean. I've used that joke way too many times. Solid 7 out of 10.
스고요네. But you know what makes it even better? ちょっと待って.
Okay, is it kind of a cop-out that I'm counting this one as another way to cook ramen? Maybe, but give me a break, girl. I'm making 100. I gotta have some easy ones in the bank. And if curry ramen is a 7, the cheese here definitely elevates it to a 7.5, adding that creaminess it was missing before. In hindsight, it would have been better if we used some caramelized onions or something, but come on, it's ramen. It's supposed to be easy.
If the world is ending, this is what I'm eating every single night.
The next ramen hack is one made by a lot of broke college students, which starts with cooking a basic chicken flavored ramen and adding butter and ketchup. I topped it off with extra butter just to make it a tiny bit fancier. This was one of the first things I saw people make that left me in a culture shock when I went to America for the first time, but in a weird way, it kind of works. I'm naming this one the Honey Boo Boo Ramen.
This one's for you, my favorite American diva. Freshness and umami coming from the ketchup, and the butter kind of mellows it out, and with the chicken broth, it all works.
I'm giving this Americana ramen a participation trophy, 6 out of 10.
Soondubu? Ha! Ramen.
That was cringe, but maybe my brain is turning into Soondubu, aka soft silken tofu, because we're making Soondubu jjigae ramen, aka spicy chili oil soft tofu stew ramen. It starts with a generous amount of neutral oil to which you add the soup packet to infuse a gentle chili oil. Try to go with one that's seafood flavored, then add the water in. Once the mixture starts to bubble, add your noodles in, cut a packet of Korean soft silken tofu and slide it right in. Cut the tofu into little rounds, then crack open an egg in the side and garnish with chopped green onion. This is another ramen that's great for hangovers. Look how jiggly and soft the tofu is.
Infusing it and making an aromatic oil with the ramen packet. Genius idea. I wonder who thought about it. Somebody probably did it before, but... Spicy toripaitan.
Which is just a fancy way of saying spicy chicken ramen, but you can take a regular instant noodle and elevate it into this. This one's super simple, just a couple extra ingredients, and it looks way fancier. The best way to cook your greens is to poach them in a tasty chicken broth, so blanch them quickly in the soup, take them out, and cook your noodles in the same broth. Pour in your aromatic oil of choice. Into the bowl, I went with chili oil and gently ladle the broth over. Watch the oil rise to the top and mwah. Add back your greens, throw in a protein, and suddenly a basic bowl of instant ramen turns to this.
This is what I would eat when I'm sick.
This one is inspired by my recent travel to Hong Kong, a classic Cantonese breakfast dish, tomato and egg stir fry. Another trick to making the eggs glossy and saucy is a tiny bit of potato starch to bind everything together. And with the rest of the soup packet, cook your noodles, then transfer it to a bowl. And into the same pot, you want to stir fry your eggs lightly into a soft scramble. And don't worry if the eggs are sticking to the bottom, because we're going to be deglazing it with some of the broth and adding in tomatoes to soften them. Stew them for about 5 minutes, then add back your eggs in and thicken with potato starch slurry so it becomes one big flavorful goopy sauce. Ladle it over, a little green onion for garnish, and you have yourself a layer of beautiful broth underneath thick tomato and egg, all bound together by one glorious chicken flavored MSG.
It's like an egg drop soup, but 10 times better. You get a little bit of that natural umami from the tomatoes, the soft and creamy eggs, and it's all bound together with that chicken stock plus potato starch slurry. The combination of all those three is so good. I know it requires one extra ingredient, which is a la potato starch, but wow, is this worth it?
Simple but so comforting, 8.4 out of 10. Wake up, babes! We're making peanut butter ramen. We're essentially making an instant version of Dandan noodles from Sichuan province in China. Saute your ground pork, and once it's done cooking, add your seasoning packet into the rendered pork fat to make a beautiful chili oil. Then goes in a healthy scoop of skippy, never skip a skippy, and stir fry until it becomes a thick meaty mixture like this. Cook the noodles in hot water and also add in some bok choy for some color and fiber. Drain and rinse under cold water to get that bouncy noodle texture. Pour our thick dandan mixture from earlier. In goes bok choy and a little egg, because why not? And voila! Can you believe this is ramen?
It's creamy and spicy and a little sweet from the peanut butter, and that combination works incredibly well, and it just sticks onto your noodles.
Dandan noodles are an easy clean bowl crub, member. Coming in at a high 9.2 out of 10.
Mishta.
Okay, stay with me here. I know we just made dandanmyeon, but now we're making tanmen, and this version is a Japanese ramen stir-fried with pork belly, green onion, and cabbage. Give it a good flick of the wrist with the waki like you tuck it, waki like you tuck it, and in goes water and the soup packet. Any clear-based soup ones will do. Cook the noodles in the broth, then pour everything over. Add a handful of bean sprouts and green chili for a crunchy garnish. It's been almost 5 years since I moved out of the US, so I don't know if it makes sense with inflation, but...
I paid $20 without tip for this ramen in an izakaya and be very, very happy about it.
This one was my favorite by far, coming in at a staggering 9.3 out of 10. No deductions, as it's a one-dish wonder meal. So tanmen that we just made now is a staple sold at many Japanese Chinese restaurants, and in Korea we have our own version sold at Korean Chinese restaurants called Jjamppong. It's essentially very similar, except obviously us being in the land of chili, it's spicy. Same process as before, sauteing pork belly and green onion to flavor the oil and adding in chili flakes as well as the sauce packet to bring out a beautiful red aromatic chili oil. Then in goes cabbages, seafood, and water. Bring it to a boil, dropping in the noodles in the broth. The aroma from this dish will make everyone in your house sneeze from the spice. Plate it and garnish with bean sprouts and green chili. And first sip.
Those throat cancer worthy. Tastes good though. Keys to not rush it. I was too excited before. really freaking good. It has like the creaminess from the pork lard and the refreshing taste that seafood gives. It's really freaking good.
8.2 for Jjamppong. You can't have Jjamppong without getting the queen of Korean Chinese fast food, Jjajangmyeon. And we're using
오늘은 내가 짜파게티 요리사.
It's essentially an instant version of jjajangmyeon, aka black bean noodles that has a mild soy sauce and black bean flavor, so we're amping it up with some real ingredients. First, you want to cook the noodles and set it aside along with the cooking liquid because this is our liquid gold for later. Then you want to saute some minced meat. I went with pork, then green onion, then followed with onion and cabbage. Then add in the jjapaghettI sauce packet. Remember our reserved noodle liquid? We're adding that in to make everything come together. JjapaghettI, for some reason, also comes with a packet of olive oil, so we're adding this in to give the sauce a glossy finish because it's free 99. Quickly mix to combine and pour it over the noodles, and here you have a jjajang ramen that's pretty damn similar to the real deal.
This is essentially like a hack version of it, but it looks really freaking good. Not gonna lie, if you're not like the world's best cook, or let's say you just don't have the time to put 2-3 hours into one dish, but you want restaurant quality, this is like the easiest hack you can do to get restaurant quality food at home. For people who are like, oh, it's unhealthy, instead of grabbing for that bag of Cheetos, just make your food better.
A solid 8 out of 10.
Yakisoba, my favorite late night drenchy.
Best type of stir-fried noodles are ones that you clear your fridge with, so saute whatever protein and veg you have at your disposal at midnight.
And these are just noodles that I cooked beforehand and just coat it in a little bit of cooking oil so it doesn't tangle up.
Then for our seasoning, it couldn't get any simpler because we're just using the jjapaghettI sauce since it's basically a dehydrated mixture of flavored soy sauce, meaning it's gonna help the noodles stay dry and not clump up.
I think innately, like the sauce powder itself has a little bit of smokiness, so it adds a natural wok, especially if you don't have like a wok and you want that like kind of char on your yakisoba. This is a pretty good workaround. And also no moisture as well, so all the moisture is just coming from the vegetables itself.
Pretty solid hack. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. If you ask me which ramen recipe had the biggest cultural impact in Korea, without a doubt, it's ramdon from Parasite. We're pan-searing a piece of this beautiful Hanu steak and basting it in butter because this is a contrast of high and low. It's still one of my favorite movie food scenes to this day. The Korean name for this dish is actually Jjapaguri, which is a mix of two ramen names used for this dish, JjapaghettI and Noguri.
Is that okay with you?
Beautiful. Cook the noodles in 500 ml of water and the seasoning packet from both noodle packets. Simmer until the sauce thickens. And meanwhile, cut our roasted steak into cubes, plate and crown the jjapaguri with our medium rare steak bites.
The LED light on this is cracking me up. And you know what? Just to make it a little bit fancier, a knob of butter.
Mix it all up and make sure you get a piece of steak with the noodles in one bite.
You get the juiciness and the butteriness from the Hanu beef, and then you get that spicy and salty noodles. The combination of the two is better than I thought. It's my first time having the Parasite ramdon, and I don't think it'll be my last. And I think this works also because the noodles are from the same brand, so they're of equal thickness. So there's like very even cooking. Overall, solid. Much better than I thought.
Ramdon gets an 8.3 out of 10.
This next one is a BTS Jungkook Oppa
Recipe. If you mix Buldak and Noguri together, you get
bulgri.
This is another combination ramen, so let's see how it holds up against ramdon. In around 500 ml of water, add both of the seasoning packets in. Once it's done, finish with a drizzle of perilla seed oil, sesame and seaweed packet, and some extra sesame seeds. Taste-wise, I don't know. It was just basically a spicier ramen, but I felt like it was neither the refreshing taste of noguri nor the dopamine-filled chicken flavor of Buldak. The two were clashing a bit for me.
6.8 out of 10. I don't think I'll be making it again. I prefer Jjapaguri. This is truffle oil and I'm following Hwasa's recipe.
It's as simple as it gets. Once you add the seasoning packet to the cooked noodles, add a couple drops of truffle oil and mix together. We're also sprinkling a couple extra drops because girl, we ballin' out today, and we're taking it one step further by crowning the center with a beautiful golden yolk. Simple yet luxurious, 8 out of 10. This is natto. Natto is Japanese fermented soybeans, and the more you mix, the stickier, slimier, and stringier it becomes, but that's exactly what you want. Mix it well until it kind of looks like, you don't know what I'm about to say, but I'm just not going to. We keep it PG here, and put it over your cooked noodles. A little swirl, some finely chopped green onion, and make a little belly button and plop a golden yolk in the center. Mix it crazy, and this is what it looks like. I don't know about you, but for me, there's something very nostalgic about this taste, and it was a great healthy break from some of the other ramens. But would I choose this ramen over rice next time? Probably not. So 7 out of 10.
New Year's and you're spending it alone? Well, don't worry, because this is Tteok ramen.
And it starts with this ramen packet. It's a Korean beef bone broth ramen, and you cook it like you would any ramen, but as you can see, the seasoning packet is white and speckled with black pepper. Then you want to add a handful of thinly sliced rice cake, adding a little more green onion for color, crack, stir, and pour the egg mixture over. Cook it for a few minutes, then plate. I also cut some seaweed into fine strands, like you would with traditional tteok, and not gonna lie,
And you know how I shat on dong ramyeon before, saying it's double carbs and it's useless? Well, for this one, it works. And the mixture of the egg and the scallion and the seaweed all together, it works really well. And I love the texture of the noodles that you slurp, as well as the chewy rice cake. It's a really, really great combo. You don't need any other seasoning.
we're continuing on cooking the sarigomtang ramen, aka beef bone broth ramen, and making another Korean classic, seaweed soup. For us Korean folks, for our birthday, we eat seaweed soup instead of birthday cake. Okay, well, these days most people get both, but because it's the dish that Korean mothers traditionally eat during pregnancy. It's like a little taste of the days you were nestled in the womb. Probably not this ramen version, but
I don't even know how they engineered it to taste like beef bone broth more than beef bone broth. Honestly, for this one, I would just save the noodles and only use the sauce packet and then make myeokguk with it. Especially if you forgot to make it the day before or something and it's your mom's birthday or your girlfriend's birthday and you want to quickly whip this up. Not a bad cheat key. This is how you win points. We eat this instead of birthday cake. I might like this even more than the rice cake soup one. It's so simple and easy and it's so good. This was a TikTok viral recipe.
this next ramen hack is one that's been ravaging American TikTok, and that is mayo, egg, and cheese ramen. It starts with a packet of shin, cook it to package directions, and while the noodles are cooking, crack an egg along with a heaping tablespoon of mayo and 1 slap of good old American cheese. Then pour the broth over slowly, incorporating everything until it turns creamy.
But wait, how do you get all the mayo bits that are floating to the top? It's a bit gross.
To clarify, this applies for brothy ramen. Unfortunately, our TikTok ramen gets a 4 out of 10. Too creamy, not in a nice way. Buldak, probably the world's most viral ramen right now. If you've never tried it, it's a spicy chicken flavored ramen.
Spicy. Almost a tad bit too spicy for me. Now, Buldak with mayo.
I know I just said I don't condone ramen with mayo, but for Buldak, it's a different story.
Damn.
Okay, we're continuing on our Buldak hack journey. This time it requires 2 extra ingredients, corn and cheese. Same drill as before, Buldak, then add 1/4 cup of canned corn and a drizzle of mayo and a blanket of American cheese. Close the lid, and if you're making the cup version, just microwave for 30 seconds. Mix it up and you have a Korean street food classic plus Buldak's love child. Buldak with mayo, 7.2 out of 10. Buldak with mayo corn cheese, because I'm a filthy boy, 8 out of 10.
The little corn kernels, it softens the blow of spice that comes from the Buldak sauce. Little sweetness coming from the corn, intense spice and chickeny flavor from the sauce, mayo to kind of bind everything together, and it's really nice.
Something I actually appreciate about Buldak, and also for Buldak carbo, are the noodles. It's more of a middle child of pasta and ramen noodles, and I find it to be a great alternative for pasta that also stays bouncy for longer. So we're making a rosé version of ramen because I wanted to see how the taste of heavy cream would be as opposed to putting mayo. For extra steez points, flick the pan like this to emulsify the sauce, and zest as much cheese over when you're done as your zesty heart desires. Pan finishing Buldak noodles was a surprising discovery for us. Buldak with mayo was good, but heavy cream took it to a premium level, 8.2 out of 10.
This is a good way to make almost like restaurant quality pasta but with ramen noodles, because the sauce really emulsifies well.
Because we were so impressed with ramen rosé, we thought, okay, what about New York's carbone style vodka sauce but make it Buldak? The process is pretty similar. The only difference is sauteing chopped onion in butter until it lightly caramelizes, then adding in the Buldak to infuse a buttery, spicy base. Then incorporate heavy cream. You can see the beautiful marbling of that chili oil and cream. Let it simmer until it thickens, then toss in the noodles, using a little bit of noodle water if necessary to adjust the consistency. This version is also cheesier. Though it looks similar, it's much thicker and more aromatic than the one before. Spoon that chunky, thick sauce over the noodles and finish with more grated parm until she looks like this. It's thick, ooey and gooey, indulgent with a nice spicy kick, an incredible depth coming from the chicken flavor component of the sauce. Definitely takes more effort, but this was by far the best one, coming in at 8.5 out of 10. Plus, a perfect date night dish. Okay, let's say you made your day Buldak vodka sauce and things turned out well and ended up staying over. What do you make them in the morning?
Bulette.
Place your Buldak in the center of the omelette and fold it over so it kind of looks like a taco almost. Transfer it to a dish, sprinkle the extra Buldak sauce and mayo, and sprinkle on the topping packet. Turn the dish 90 degrees and you have
Bulette.
This tasted like what you would expect, 7 out of 10. We covered Buldak dinner, Buldak breakfast, it's time for Buldak lunch. We're making Buldak cheese spring roll. This is a recipe that held the mukbang community in Korea by a chokehold. It's essentially Buldak noodles wrapped around rice paper and a string cheese in the center, like a tight burrito. Then you want to pan fry it on a non-stick pan with neutral oil, searing it seam side down, rotate it, pan frying on medium heat, and you'll see the rice paper puff up like this. Fry until it looks like an oversized cigarette, and this is what the final result looks like. Let's do a cheese pull. Let's just cut it in half and look how ooey and gooey the cheese is. First bite and the verdict is...
I would totally make this if I was unemployed.
But because I'm employed, would I make it again? Absolutely not. 7 out of 10. Okonomiyaki means in Japanese grilled as you like, and because it's my okonomiyaki, it's my rule, so we're piling a heaping layer of Buldak noodles over our cabbage, egg, and flour mixture. I mean, this isn't even crazy because there's a style of okonomiyaki called Hiroshima where you put yakisoba noodles over it, but instead I'm doing Buldak. To help it stick better, we're cracking 1 egg over the top and flip it. Make sure to press it down, and after a couple of minutes, this is what she looks like. Traditionally, you put a soy and Worcester-based okonomiyaki sauce that goes over, but we're making a spicy version with extra Buldak sauce, mayo, bonito flakes, and our reserved seaweed and sesame flake. Cut a slice.
It is quite similar to the Hiroshima one. The Buldak gets like really nice and crunchy. It's super spicy, but you get that crunch from the cabbage, and the egg adds that extra indulgent factor along with the mayo. Pretty good.
This was my favorite Buldak recipe so far, coming in at 9.2 out of 10. We're making ramen cheese, essentially mac and cheese, but with ramen. You want to crush up Buldak garbo noodles.
If you don't have elbow pasta, you can use elbow grease.
Simmer 400 ml of whole milk and then add the white packet that comes in the Buldak garbo, preferably in a bigger pot. Add your crushed noodles and simmer on low.
I got stacks on stacks
of cheese, baby. Make sure to stir it around so it melts.
You want to add a little bit of spice to offset the creaminess, and also it's gonna make the mac and cheese or rack and cheese look more mac and cheese.
You can see the immediate color change, looking more like President Trump's fake tan / Kraft Box mac and cheese.
The whole point of breaking it up is so that we can eat it with a spoon. Like a TV dinner.
One pot wonder, comfort meal. I could see myself making this, so a 8.3 out of 10. We're continuing our American classics, and today we're making a good old corn dog. Skewer a wiener sausage and a string cheese onto a wooden stick. Dip it into pancake batter in a cup. Make sure it's fully coated, then roll it in a bit of panko and wrap it with cooked ramen noodles. It's a little tricky to handle, but just try your best. Now, fry this Frankenstein in oil around 185 degrees Celsius. And please, this was done by non-professional, and don't try this at home. If you have a deep fryer, great. Otherwise, use a bigger pot with less oil, unlike me. Fry it until it looks like a mummified corn dog. Top with a healthy squirt of mayo and Buldak sauce. I was speechless at how crunchy this turned out. It actually tasted so bomb. 8.5 if somebody else made it for me, but 7 overall because the cleanup was not worth it. This next one feels a little illegal, and I'm calling it the Buldog. It's a corn dog, and you want to cut it down the center like this.
Oh gosh, this looks not PG friendly.
And you want to stuff it with spicy Buldak noodles. A healthy drizzle of mayo and the Buldak sesame and seaweed packet goes on top, and voila!
The baby.
This isn't something my perverted mind created. It's actually a viral dish in Korea.
Very similar to a Japanese yakisoba dog. Carb on carb love. Can't go wrong.
Kevin gave it an 8.5, I gave it a 6, so we're meeting in the middle at 7.25. Another quintessential American classic, a la ramen burger.
This is what I do with my food science major.
Make burger buns. You want to get cooked ramen noodle and put it into quarter quart condi containers.
So this one's gonna be the bottom bun, so I want this one to be slightly thinner than the top bun. So I'm gonna just do this.
And place it in your freezer until we prepare the rest. Slice some tomaskis. Juicy gherkin. Thinly slice those as well, and into a well-greased pan, flip once the bottom is crispy and golden brown. Take it out and repeat the process for the bottom bun. For our patty, because I'm a resourceful little Korean, I'm using the ramen spice packet as our rub. Rub that meat, my mind is rotten, on both sides. Then sear it until it forms a crust and place American cheese and a bowl over it so that the cheese can melt into ooey gooey goodness like this. I'm quickly making a little ramen seasoned mayo by adding half a teaspoon of sauce packet to 2 tablespoons of mayo. Now it's time for the fun part, the assembly. Bun, sauce, patty, tomato, sliced onion, pickles, then top bun, and squeeze it down. I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the patty was one of the most flavorful and delicious patties I've ever tasted with the encrusted seasoning, but the ramen buns?
Just buy some damn burger buns.
Ramen burger, you were so not worth it, but fun while it lasted. 6.9 out of 10. Pizra! You think my names are getting more and more outrageous? Girly, we're not even halfway there. Press down the cooked ramen noodles on a non-stick pan like your childhood drama. Then you want to flip with confidence of a pizza holo. You want to ladle in some marinara sauce from Kirkland,
Just like my Italian nonna.
then sprinkle on mozzarella, some sliced cured ham, and we're also doing black olives and putting the lid on. Looked nice, but it did feel like something was missing, so I sprinkled some dehydrated parsley over, and this is what she looks like. Cut it into quarters.
Nice caramelization on the bottom.
Surprisingly, this held up pretty well, and first bite,
Better than I thought, and easier to make than I thought.
honestly, not bad. 7 out of 10. I know we just did ramen pizza, but what about pizza ramen? See here, the adjective is pizza, so it's gonna be a pizza-styled ramen. Into our chicken broth goes warm marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, some onions, thinly sliced peps, corn, and a sprinkle of parsley, and a drizzle of olive oil.
So apparently in Fukuoka, there's like a tomato ramen craze. It kind of tastes like budae. Not bad, but not great either.
Not my favorite, but Kevin liked it. 7.2 out of 10. I saw this on the corner of the internet and it has been stuck in my mind ever since, so we're recreating it. For this, you want to get the whitest bread alive and do a healthy sprinkle of mayonnaise. Then a heaping mound of noodles, cheese, then noodles, and 3 cheese because we going fancy, baby. Squish it down with a little mayo on the top side so it gets nice and crunchy. Into a well-buttered pan goes the Buldak grilled cheese. Swirl it around so it gets nice even coating of butter. Press it down with something heavy, and since the person who wrote this was clearly under the influence of pot, that's exactly what we're putting on top. Couple minutes later, flip, listen to how crispy this is, flip again until it's golden brown like me, baby, and let's see what it looks like inside.
Very good. I thought it was gonna be looking kind of gimmicky nasty, but it actually smells really good.
I'm a good girl, so I wouldn't know what the devil's lettuce would taste like, but I could see how this would be the perfect munchies. 7 out of 10 while high and 6 out of 10 sober. Next dish is my favorite American classic. I'm not gonna tell you what it is until the end, but you can start by sauteing onion, carrot, and celery in butter. Add a little more butter. For good measure, you can never have too much butter. And dust everything in some flour. Mix it to coat the veggies in it. This is essentially making a rough roux, which is butter and cooked out flour mixture to help thicken stews. Now you want to pour in some milk along with some chicken breasts. I had this from the day before, and the soup packet of chicken ramen, looking creamy and white like middle America. Then you want to transfer it to a cast iron layer, and instead of puff pastry, we're instead putting in ramen noodles, coat it in some oil and bake on broil until it gets nice and golden brown. No cap though, this is actually
My grandmother's recipe from the Mayflower.
This is chicken pot ramen. This really hit something in me, both my love for ramen and chicken pot pie. 8.5 out of 10. Our final American Classics inspired ramen is going to be Ram's Krispies. That was unnecessary, but you're watching a girl who's been eating only ramen for 2.5 weeks. Melt some butter, then add in marshmallows. Kevin is European, so he was genuinely so shocked at how it was made. And also, not gonna lie, I've only eaten Rice Krispies, never made them before, but we're essentially subbing the crispy rice with crushed ramen noodles. Press it down on a baking tray, and it looked a little plain, so I poured some chocolate over, and after an hour in the fridge, cross-section looks like this. It was harder than my forehead, and there's not that many things that I can say that about. and I risked my teeth to eat this. 4 out of 10 for Ram's Krispies. Okay, enough with the American classics. We're bringing it back to my home turf and covering some of my favorite Korean classic inspired ramen. We're covering the 2 queens of Korean street food. First up is tteokbokki.
Tteokbokki and ramen. Ramen, tteokbokki, tteokbokki.
Put your ramen noodles in the center along with rice cakes, fish cakes, leeks and cabbage for sweetness. For sauce, half a packet of shin along with a tablespoon of gochujang. Pour in enough water to let everything simmer, and in a couple of minutes, nostalgic and tasty, 7.8 out of 10.
It's good.
We're making kim ramen, essentially kimbap, but we're subbing out the rice for ramen noodles. Put a thin layer of cooked ramen noodles on top of roasted seaweed and layer with lettuce, roasted kimchi, and a slab of egg and roasted spam. A drizzle of mayo to make sure the world goes round, and we roll. Surprisingly, this was a lot easier to roll than I thought because it reacted the same way rice would due to the excess starch after cooking. Slice it a little bit thicker than what you'd normally cut kimbap into 1 centimeter or half-inch chunks, and look how gorgeous it looks!
Wow.
This turned out so much better than I anticipated. Plate this, and this is the final look. Flavor-wise, this was great, but would I ever have situations where I have leftover ramen noodles? So 5 out of 10.
Good, but I miss rice.
We're making kimchi jjigae ramen. This is a classic dish that's eaten especially at restaurants when you add ramen noodles for like an extra $1 for dessert at the end of the meal. And I'll tell you a little secret to making restaurant quality kimchi jjigae in under 10 minutes. Start by sauteing pork belly, onion, kimchi, along with a tablespoon of gochujang. Once the mixture looks jammy, add water in.
This is the secret in making restaurant quality kimchi jjigae ramen. MSG.
We're using the beef bone broth ramen packet from before to be used as an extra layer of flavor to deepen the flavors of this kimchi jjigae. Once it starts bubbling, add your ramen noodles in along with a quarter of sliced tofu, and you have restaurant quality kimchi jjigae ramen.
If you're Korean watching this at night, I know you be salivating like hella.
So freaking tasty, easy, one pot wonder meal, 9.3 out of 10. You have to sacrifice your t-shirt, but it's a price worth paying. Another brothy ramen where ramen is served as a dessert is budae-jjigae. Budae-jjigae is Korean army stew, and it's made with a potpourri of deli meats, kimchi, and vegetables. Prepare your wiener sausages, and I'm slicing the wiener sausages in a cross so they open up like mini octopus for later, as well as thin slices of spam. Truman show us commercial coming in at 3, 2, 1.
All possible with a very sharp Muja knife available at dubimart.com.
Now, after the commercial break comes assembly. Into the pot goes in ramen noodles along with a whole sauce packet of the beef bone broth ramen, then kimchi, wiener sausage, spam, baked beans for a little sweetness, bean sprouts, American cheese, and a sprinkle of gochugaru for heat. Pour in water, and in 5 minutes, as I said, these wieners have opened up into octopus shapes.
Wow. And I also, if I'm committing to eating budae-jjigae, like I want to go the full way and not have rice, but have ramen, you know? I will have it the full processed way. Killer.
Budae-jjigae ramen gets 9.5 out of 10.
Okay, so in Korea, we have this snack called pusha, which is essentially like raw ramen snacks. And I think a lot of Americans or people outside of Korea don't know this, but you can eat ramen raw. And this is like our ultimate movie night snack, especially if you don't have popcorn or you're too lazy to go out to a convenience store. We crush this up, sprinkle a little bit of powder, like this. This is a perfect movie night snack. It's not like eating raw pasta. Very different because this is already pre-cooked. But if you want to one-up it, just wait and see.
This is a snack my dad grew up eating a lot, and it's ramen noodles fried until it looks golden brown, like this.
The most traditional way is a spoonful of sugar and half of the ramen powder.
Ramendan gets 7 out of 10 for nostalgia,
Pretty good.
and fried ramendan comes in at 8.6 out of 10.
Tastes like that yakisoba snack they sell in Japan. Processed food, final boss. It's like ramen crackers. Much better than the raw ones.
We're continuing on this snacky affair by making another midnight snack classic, corn cheese chun.
What's really important about this one is that you start with no oil.
You want to work with a non-stick pan, preferably to make it easier. Then in goes corn, mazi, and a healthy layer of cooked noodles.
I guess this is the batter.
Once the bottom is nice and golden brown, channel your inner Asian lady and flip. Be slightly impressed with how this looks because this is the top-down shot. So pretty! Plate it, then in goes an extra sprinkle of mayo because mayo life be creamy. A little parsley for garnish, and this is what she looks like. A layer of crispy ramen noodles, caramelized corn cheese on top. First bite.
It's good, but not big of a difference between just adding like corn and mayo and cheese. But there's a really nice textural element for sure. Yeah, 7.
Our next dish is the cold ramen, and for that you want the texture of the noodles to be bouncy, and you achieve it by
Cold shock it. They don't stick anymore.
a tablespoon of soy, half a tablespoon of sugar, sorry I forgot to record, and enough seaweed to completely camouflage the noodles, and crack in ground sesame seeds and crown the center with a yolk and a generous drizzle of sesame oil.
I love making this during the summers, especially when I don't have much appetite. It's so simple and addicting. Also really good with Kirkland Costco seaweed.
For how simple and easy this is, makguksu gets 7.5 out of 10. Another dish us Koreans like to eat during the summer is kongguksu, which is cold soybean noodles. But instead of cooking the soybeans from scratch, best hack is to just use silken tofu,
1 teaspoon salt, 1 tablespoon PB, 1/4 cup soy milk, crushed sesame.
and you grind, adding in more soy milk if necessary. This is the OG Korean protein shake. You want to plate it by adding in your once cold shocked to rinsed ramen noodles, ice cubes to keep it cold, and pour over our nutty whole soybean soup mixture. Bonus points for plant-based protein goals.
Because the broth itself is so cold, the ramen noodles, they kind of firm up. It becomes really al dente and super slurpable. It's the only thing I crave during the summer. This and naengmyeon.
A high 9 out of 10. I love naengmyeon, and I'm just gonna tell you right here and now that this was a bust. Naengmyeon is a North Korean style cold noodle dish that's flavored with mild beef broth, and I thought, okay, why not try it with sarigomtang, our beef bone broth ramen? So I flavored it and put it in the freezer until it became slushy like this, and it was a total bust. Minus 10 out of them.
Look how they mess with my boy.
Cold noodle redemption time, we're going back to sticking with the classics and making golbi, not golum, noodles. Golbi is an acronym of 2 main ingredients used for this recipe, golbengi
This is Korean escargot. It's a little sweet and has a really nice texture.
and bibimbap, a gochujang-based sweet and sour ramen, extremely popular in Korea. Cook the noodles to package directions and cold chuck it so it retains the nice bounciness. Add the drained golbengi and cut it into bite-sized pieces, and I also added in some sliced cabbage for extra crunch. Dress it up, add a little bit of sesame oil and seeds and seaweed on top for the final garnish. What am I saying? I'm Korean. Of course I'm gonna put some extra sesame seeds.
Always a classic, but always a winner.
This one's my mom's ultimate favorite food, one she cleared immediately on the spot and says 10 out of 10, but methinks 8 out of 10. Bulhoe. Think of it as Korean ceviche. First, we're making the base. In goes our bibimbap sauce. Make sure to scrape every little bit. Then equal parts vinegar, sugar, and a little bit of Korean chili flakes and water to dilute it out.
Into the freezer, this goes for 1 hour.
While the sauce is chillin', I'm chiffonating, which is just a fancy word for thinly cutting some greens, and preparing the noodles under package directions.
1 hour later.
This is what the sauce looks like, and it should resemble kind of like a 7-Eleven big gulp texture. Then you assemble by putting in the noodles, our sauce base, lettuce, raw fish, and a drizzle of sesame oil and seeds. Mix this together and the sauce should melt fairly quickly, and dang, am I salivating right now as I'm editing this.
This one especially, I can't believe it's ramen. Like the texture of the ramen noodles is so nice with the raw fish and the salad. Like look at this. Look how beautiful it is too.
Bulhoe is a solid 9 out of 10 and was one of the best instant ramen recipes for this series. There's a deli store in Korea that I visited a couple years back that specializes in making ramen fried rice, and it was mind-blowing. So let me show you how to make it. Pick out your favorite cup noodle and smash the ramen noodles like you smashed the like button for this video. Smooth, no? Smooth operator. Okay, anyways, then add the sauce and cook it like you would any normal ramen. Get a pan ready with some oil, crack in an egg, and make a rough scramble. When the egg is finished cooking, dump the whole ramen in, which looks outrageous and way too soupy, but trust me, and let it simmer down until the broth evaporates to about a half. At this point, add a bowl of white rice and mix it together. That's the thing with fried rice that most people get wrong. It's too dry. You need good, flavorful broth to make sure everything is well seasoned, and what better way than perfectly engineered savory ramen broth. Finish with a drizzle of sesame oil, and here's the secret trick. Also drizzle in a little bit of sesame oil and sesame seeds into the ramen cup before packing the rice in. Squish it down so it holds its shape. Flip it onto a plate, give it a tap for good luck, and look at her. She is beauty, she is grace, she is fried rice. 1 spoon.
It smells like shrimp fried rice. Looks gimmicky, but surprisingly very, very good. Rice. I missed rice. I'm getting emotional. I haven't had rice in weeks. I've been having ramen for weeks.
9 out of 10. Ingenious recipe, one pan wonder, and maybe a little biased because I love rice. They say Koreans are the Italians of Asia, so we're making aramchini with some of the leftover fried rice and filling in the center with
String cheese, just like the Sicilians. It's time to shape some balls, bitch.
Don't let these balls be bigger than your ego, and don't listen to people around you saying,
Mom.
This word.
trust your balls. Squish them real good until you have perfect sized balls. Repeat the process and place them on a parchment-lined tray. These are going to go in the freezer for an hour so they rest.
And for the breading, we're doing a classic flour, egg, and then the last part is going to be a mixture of panko and crushed up ramen.
After an hour, they should be pretty firm. Roll it in the order of flour, egg, and our panko ramen mixture, then drop it in the frying oil at 180 degrees Celsius. The key here is to make sure to fry low and slow to not burn the outer layer while letting the cheese inside melt. Fry until you have 4 equally beautiful crispy ramen balls that look like the COVID-19 germ emoji, and plate it. For a final garnish, a little bit of spice. I mean, look at how crunchy this is, and the cheese pull was so glorious. I'm gonna play it back one more time. I'm proud of this. It was a great use of the leftover fried rice, but would I make it again?
Hell no, it's too much work.
Aramchini gets 6.5 out of 10. Now that we've made aramchini, we're making another Italian classic, lasagna. Just like the chicken pot pie we made earlier, we're making a roux this time without the veg and slowly cooking out the flour so it toasts and adding in milk to make a white sauce called bechamel. Once the sauce consistency looks like this, coating the back of your spatula or like Elmer's glue, pour a layer on a ceramic pan, then a couple dollops of marinara sauce and ramen noodles instead of lasagna sheets. Then repeat the process, and for the final layer, it's gonna be bechamel, American cheese, and mozz with a sprinkle of black pepper. Bake it in the oven for 200 degrees for 20 minutes or until the cheese is nice and golden brown like this.
Better than my usual lasagnas.
This again is one of those dishes that turned out so much better than I thought it was gonna be. Get yourself a slice while it's warm and mamma mia, look at the layers, baby.
Authentic lasagna recipe. I really like the textures that are going on here. Because the noodles are still quite bouncy, you have the soft bechamel and the tangy tomato sauce and the crunchy cheese on top. And this is a surprising winner. Like, I'm giving this like a solid 9. Pretty good.
Another Italian classic, cacio e pepe ramen. Cacio e pepe is a peppery, cheesy pasta dish, but we're making it with ramen noodles for those times you don't have pasta at home. Cook the ramen noodles until al dente, then strain and reserve the cooking liquid to help thicken the sauce. Add a couple chunks of butter and enough black pepper for that signature kick, then slowly add back the ramen water to emulsify the butter into the noodles and gently mix to combine. I'm topping it with extra grated cheese and black pepper, and look, you can see the ripples come alive in these noodles. And personally, I think they hold up better than fresh pasta and easier to work with. Plus, it's much more affordable.
So simple, but so luxurious.
Definitely a hack worth trying. 8 out of 10. Just because you're eating ramen doesn't mean you can't get your greens. We're making pesto-inspired green ramen, but making it even more verdant by adding in blanched spinach, basil, pine nuts, pecorino for a salty kick, and olive oil. Blend it until it looks like this. Wow, beautiful! Mix it together and it should be looking like Medusa's hair, and spoon a final dollop of the sauce like so. Mix it together, and if you have burrata and some cherry tomatoes, they're also really nice to add in as well, but as is also
Insanely delicious. What do you expect? 8.6 out of 10.
We're moving over to Italy's neighboring countries, and we're going over to, oops, I almost dropped my croissant, France. We're making a French onion soup inspired ramen, and for that you need, excuse my French, a fuck ton of onions. Then you want to saute your onions in a handful of butter, caramelizing it until it turns brown and jammy like this. And we're buttressing the brown color by caramelizing a little more soy for umami, and our choice of ramen is
Beef bone broth packet.
dump the soup packet, then some water, and once it boils, drop your noodles in. To plate it, I would put the noodles in first, then spoon over the jammy onion broth and put a cheese that melts. Gruyere would have been great, but because I bought 100 pack of American cheese, we're using that. I'm torching it because this bowl isn't oven proof, so technically I shouldn't be torching it either. And a little grated parm, and also heating it up a tiny bit. This is our finished French onion soup ramen. A solid 9 out of 10.
Why is this not a thing? This is so tasty.
We're moving in further into the Iberian coast and making Spanish tortilla. Spanish tortilla is something I eat every other day when I'm in Madrid. I've eaten it lots but never made it, especially with ramen noodles. First, you want to whisk a lot of eggs and cook noodles together. This looks hella iffy, but you know what? We're just gonna go along with it. Set it aside and lots of aceite de oliva because the best olive oil comes from Spain. Claro! Gently heat it up and pour in our egg ramen mixture. The key here is to not overcook the eggs in the center, but set it enough so that it isn't completely runny. Cook it on the lowest heat possible, and once it starts releasing from the pan, put a plate that's large enough to cover it and flip it quickly. Vale? It's okay if some of the mixture runs out. That's completely normal.
Ooh, beautiful.
And slide it back into the pan. Look how evenly golden brown this looks. Cook it for a few minutes, plate it, and our beautiful Spanish tortilla. Let it cool for 5 minutes, and after take a slice and look at this cross section. Definitely triggering my trypophobia a little bit. Beautiful. Pero maybe that's because I love the OG tortilla so much, but this is a 6 out of 10.
Pretty damn good.
Eggs are the backbone of brunch, and another dish that proves it is shakshuka. I'm putting a little Asian twist by starting off with the laogama base, then a layer of noodles, along with some tomato sauce, and dropping in 2 eggs. Sprinkle a little bit of the soup packet for some heat and saltiness, and cook it low and slow for 13 minutes until the whites set.
The best part about this one is how the noodles get super crispy on the bottom.
I didn't really love how overcooked the noodles became. Everything was a little bit too mushy for my liking. 5 out of 10.
This one starts with a pound of butter.
I got my conversion mixed up, so it's actually a 1/4 pound of butter, which is 100 grams, but it sounded more dramatic when I said that. We're making the creme de la creme of brunch, hollandaise sauce. For those who don't know what hollandaise is, it's essentially mayonnaise, egg yolks whisked into submission with lots of warm butter and lemon juice. Few ingredients, but requires something called upper body workout, which I don't really know what it is because I'm just a girl.
Who knew brunch was an extreme sport?
Key is to get it thickened, so we're doing a double boiler. You'll see the mixture go from this to this. Once the whisk starts leaving little booby marks in your sauce, it's ready. Cook your ramen noodles, plate it, and using the same water, because I don't want to do more dishes, add vinegar in and drop an egg, making a whirlpool motion to get a perfectly poached little eggy. Couple of slices of smoked salmon, the poached egg, and a generous heaping of our hollandaise sauce goes on top, blanketing the whole thing. A little bit of ramen seasoning packet for a kiss of heat, and wow.
Hollandaise, Eggs Benedict, ramen. Petition to have ramen instead of English muffins. Why not? You get that lemony hollandaise that's incredibly rich, a bite from the salmon, as well as the gently poached egg, and a bit of spice coming from the ramen packet. Very, very good. Definitely takes a lot of effort. This one was Kevin's idea, but very well worth it. This is ramen that I call Michelin worthy.
9.2 for Eggs Benedict ramen, probably 1,000 calories, but whatever girl, it's brunch babes.
You caught me in a very Chinese time of my life.
And I'm showing you the dish that started it all, mapo tofu, but make it ramen. Here I'm sauteing some ground pork and also putting in Dwenjang to infuse it into the lard.
This is oil that I made, and it's laced with a lot of peppercorns that I got from Chengdu.
And once the two mingle and tingle with Sichuan peppercorn, add in cubed firm tofu, some water, along with your ramen noodles. Now, another little trick up my sleeve.
We gotta put in half.
Once the noodle is done cooking, take it out and we're thickening the rest of the base with a little bit of potato starch. Then pour the final mixture over the noodles, a little bit of thinly sliced green onion, and look at this noodle pull. Oh my god, I am so addicted to mala spice in my life right now, it's not even funny.
I miss Chengdu.
Once you go to Sichuan, you never go back.
非常好吃的.
It's not just me who's going through a very Chinese phase right now, it's all of Korea with their obsession with malatang. Mala literally means spicy and numbing, and that's what's so addicting about Sichuan food. Let's make it one step more addicting by merging my other obsession, ramen. Malatang is all about whatever ingredients your heart desires, so load it up in your pot with a big scoop of mala chili oil sauce and a little bit of seasoning.
A little boost.
And while that simmers, prepare our little creamy and nutty oasis.
A little bit of sesame paste.
Malatang ramen, dangerously addicting, 9 out of 10. Let's say you don't want to go through all that cooking but want some nice broth. Here's a hack that mimics
Taiwanese beef noodle soup ramen.
Jjajang is a Korean spicy beef flavored ramen.
Dandan. This is fermented broad bean paste, and a little goes a long way. So you want to do half a tablespoon. This one is my homemade chili oil. But if you don't have it, just use that one.
And you pour the water in and wait in anticipation. After a couple minutes, mix it together, and this is the final end result. The broth in this one is so good compared to the level of effort that was put in. 8.8 out of 10. Last but not least, if you're not good with mala spice and you want to build your tolerance, this is the recipe for you. And as Koreans like to call it, Sichuan-style jjapaghettI. It's essentially just jjapaghettI with a heaping tablespoon of chili oil mixed, and it elevates the aroma of jjapaghettI. You get the salty soy and black bean flavor with a kick of chili oil.
Like obviously, like it's gonna depend on the type of chili oil you have. Mine's homemade with lots of Sichuan chili peppercorn. It really just brightens up jjapaghettI, because I feel like jjapaghettI on its own, I don't know, now to me it's a little bland and I want more like flavor and dopamine. Went from like a 6 to a 9.
Scallion oil noodles are one of my favorite dishes to order, so whenever I see a recipe, I make an excuse to try it out. And the first method is super simple. You get a bed of chopped scallions over noodles and pour in sizzling oil right before it smokes to lightly wilt it and flavor with soy sauce, sugar, vinegar mixture. It was good, but it did feel like something was slightly missing, so I added chicken powder, but nothing to sing home about. 5 out of 10. Next one is a more proper way of making a Shanghainese way, which takes a little more effort and starts with plenty of oil and crisping up thinly sliced scallions. Then add a spoon of brown sugar, dark soy sauce, caramelizing it, and add the noodles in. We're adding jjapaghettI powder instead of soy sauce and getting a little bit of that smoky wok hei, and finishing with some more fresh scallions. A stunning 8.8 out of 10.
This is like the ultimate premium jjapaghett'i, but aggrandized with more of that burnt soy flavor. This tastes like what in my head jjapaghettI should taste like. Surprisingly so good. Oh, I shouldn't eat more, but I will.
If you consider yourself a Chinese food connoisseur, the final boss of ingredients is the century egg. Century egg is a preserved duck egg with a slight ammonia scent. If you don't know what ammonia smells like, well, it smells like piss. But it tastes good. A common appetizer involves serving it with spicy, garlicky chili oil and a little MSG. So what better way than to dress it than using the ramen seasoning packet? Add the chopped century egg to the chili mixture, incorporate it well, and spoon it over the noodles along with a sprig of cilantro.
Kind of adds like a really like blue cheesy funky note to it. I think on its own it is definitely a little bit intense, but I love eating it with like congee or with spice. It really neutralizes the flavor and adds a lot of depth.
It's a dish you might need to get used to, but I really urge you to try it. 8.3 out of 10. Everyone knows that iconic scene from Ponyo where she's eating ham ramen, and it's impossible not to crave a bowl after. I made my full version in my recreating anime video that looks like this, but this is the easy 10-minute hack. Start with the chicken flavored ramen. Once it's done cooking, prepare a bowl with a splash of soy sauce and a spoonful of warm pork lard. Slowly drizzle in the broth, fold in the noodles, and garnish with thinly sliced ham, half a boiled egg, and chopped scallions.
This feels like a deja vu moment. Wow, ham ramen! The ham adds a really nice smoky flavor to the broth, and the extra fat, whatever fat you choose to use, it's really, really pretty when it rises to the top.
Simple and easy, but very comforting. 8 out of 10. These next 3 dishes are ones you're not gonna believe are ramen, and since these are elevated pasta flavors, you want to choose noodles that feel a little more luxurious.
The undoubted winner for me is Buldak.
What you'll notice about these noodles is that unlike others, they take a wider, almost fettuccine-esque shape. Once they're cooked, about a minute before they're done, drain them, leaving around half a cup of cooking water. Add in cold butter to emulsify while the noodles are still hot. For this version, I'm adding Korean salted pollock roe, which is similar to Italian botarga but undried. And you want to just remove the skin by gently squeezing it down, using only the salted roe part. Fold it into the noodles until it turns into a thick, glossy sauce like this. Finish with a little extra parm, and voila!
The texture on these noodles ceases to amaze me because you can achieve incredibly similar consistency to a handmade pasta by slightly overcooking ramen noodles because it still has that silkiness but a bite to it. So this is a really great hack that you can utilize ramen noodles to turn it into a beautiful pasta dish.
Our next dish, I'm calling it the Roman. Not Roman, the birthplace of Amatriciana and the Colosseum, but Ro plus men, like noodles. This is what Buldak garbo noodles look like when they're cold shocked, almost like thin udon noodles. Once they're shocked in ice water, all the starchiness disappears and you're left with this bouncy, glossy texture. They're great eaten cold, so we're keeping that integrity by adding only chopped green onion, a spoonful of ikura, soy cured salmon roe, and a splash of Japanese suyu sauce.
Ikuramen. Insanely tasty. If you don't have good like noodle providers near you, this is a really great alternative. Extremely delicious.
Baby, I'm keeping the best for last. We're cooking with uni. It's Japanese word for sea urchin roe, and it's technically the genitals, but hey, it
Melts in your mouth. It's the foie gras of the sea.
We're gonna start by making uni cream. Blend together 2 yolks, equal parts uni and olive oil, and you'll get the silky uni sauce.
So good.
Add the cream to the noodles along with a bit of butter. Be gentle here with the heat so it doesn't overcook. Just fold it in slowly. Once you plate, finish with a little nugget of uni on top and drizzle of grassy olive oil. This is what she looks like up close and personal.
Chocolate ramen. This was one of those that I was dreading because I knew like if I just put chocolate in ramen, it's gonna be pretty ass. And I never want to make anything that's not delicious, so this is my Jjamppong style chocolate ramen.
First, smash up the noodles and cook them in 500 ml of water. Reserve some of the ramen water to mix with the chocolate powder and a tablespoon of brown sugar. Traditionally, it's palm sugar, but if you don't have it, this works completely fine. Give it a good old stir so it doesn't get lumpy and it tastes like chocolate. Then add it back to the pot and let everything bloom and thicken for about 5 minutes. Plate it up and finish with a drizzle of evaporated milk. Jjamppong is traditionally served with dried fish, and I love the sweet and salty combo, so we're sprinkling in a little bit of the soup packet.
Well, Jjamppong is one of my favorite things, but if you don't have sticky rice or rice in general, this is a really good alternative. And the oiliness from the ramen noodles, it actually helps bloom the chocolate even better in my opinion, and it becomes really nice and comforting.
Start by pan-searing the pork belly. First, skin side down to render out the fat, then all the sides until it develops a golden crust. Add peppercorn. I'm toasting my peppercorn slightly so it has better aroma. Then add back our seared pork belly along with smashed garlic cloves, soy sauce, vinegar, water, and plenty of bay leaves. Close the pressure cooker lid and cook it for about 20 minutes, then let it release pressure naturally for about an hour. After an hour, you can see the pork is super tender. Traditionally, you'd reduce the sauce into a glossy, salty, tangy adobo glaze, but since we're eating this as a ramen, we'll leave it as is. Spoon the pork belly and the broth over your cooked noodles.
Kain tayo! So tasty. And you get that like pork lard, the saltiness coming from the soy sauce, and a really nice aroma from the evaporated vinegar, but there's still that nice a little bit of acidity to kind of cut through the porkiness. Like, look at this broth. Insane. I'm kind of a freak, so I even like the little peppercorns in adobo. And it's completely cooked through, so it's super soft. Also very similar tasting notes to kimchi jjigae, but this is more indulgent.
Easy 9.3 out of 10 for adobo ramen. Our next ramen is another dry, stir-fried style. For seasoning, we're going half masala and half ramen packet, the best of both worlds. Sprinkle a little more ramen seasoning on top and add a crispy fried egg for extra protein. This kind of tastes like Singaporean mee goreng. Trust me, simple and way better than it looks.
Wow, so tasty. The masala flavor adds so much like aroma to the noodles, and it works really well with the ramen packet. This is going in the Clean Bowl Hall of Fame, for sure.
Masala ramen, 9 out of 10. Our next ramen starts by giving our onion and ginger a good blaze until they get a nice char. We're making pho, or shall I say, faux ramen. For the spices, we're using star anise, clove, fennel, cardamom, cinnamon, and coriander. Drop them into the pan and give them a quick toast to bring out their aroma. Then add the charred onion and ginger, pour in the water, and let it all come together into an aromatic stock. Once it starts to simmer, it's time for our beef bone broth ramen to shine. Add the soup packet and the cinnamon stick and let everything infuse for 10 minutes, then strain. Pour the soup back into the pot and season with a little fish sauce and sugar to give it that iconic pho flavor.
Pretty tastes like pho.
Add your noodles to the broth, and once they're cooked, transfer them to the bowl while keeping the broth simmering hot. Atop the noodles with thinly sliced brisket and pour the hot pho broth over to gently cook the beef. Finish with cilantro and a good squeeze of lemon. And here we have our pho looking pretty legit.
In a pinch, this is really great. Honestly, sub out the ramen noodles for actual rice noodles. You could be able to fool some people. Not Vietnamese people, but a lot of people.
Our pho gets 8.4 out of 10.
Pepper carrot, tom yum, ramen.
And it starts with
Lemongrass, cilantro root, Thai chili, galangal.
Then with our pounded herbs, infuse them into an herby broth for about 10 minutes, add the noodles, and once they're almost cooked, drop in some shrimp and 2 healthy swirls of evaporated milk. In a separate bowl, add half of the ramen seasoning packet and have it ready, only to realize I forgot to add kaffir lime leaves at the start. Better than nothing. The base of a good tom yum is a Thai chili garlic paste called nam prik pao. It's quite chunky, so dilute it with a little bit of the broth before adding in the rest. I got a little bit too greedy with my bowl and it ended up overflowing, so don't do that. She's beautiful on her own, but we're giving it that iconic tom yum ramen look with not only 1, but 2 egg yolks. Break apart the egg yolks and look at the noodles coated in this glossy yolk and the spicy chili oil. First slurp.
Of all the ramen hacks, right now, this is probably my current favorite because I went to Bangkok in February and I'm still not over Thai-style tom yum ramen.
All that extra hard work and all those dishes, this is one of those bowls that's absolutely worth it. 9.4 out of 10. We're making pad thai ramen. Melt some brown sugar, palm sugar is best, but I don't have any. And once it starts to melt, add a bit of water along with a knob of tamarind. If you don't have tamarinds, just use vinegar instead. Then add fish sauce for that sweet, sour, and salty umami kick, plus a little more water to bring the sauce together. Once the sauce simmers, add a touch more water because this will be the base where we simmer our ramen noodles. After a couple of minutes, the noodles should start coming apart like this while still sizzling in the sauce. And this is the perfect time to push the noodles to the side and add 2 eggs and scallions, gently scrambling them before folding everything together. Add some beet sprouts for some crunch and a little bit more oil if needed so the noodles don't clump. After a quick saute is looking and smelling pretty legit, plate it up in the bowls I brought back from Thailand and finish with some crushed nuts. And this is our final rat thai. A squeeze of lime adds that bright citrusy note, and after 1 bite, I'm transported straight back to the streets of Bangkok with tuk-tuks buzzing around.
Oh yeah.
9.2 out of 10 for our rat thai. Next dish is a Yum Mama salad, a dish commonly sold at street stalls in Bangkok. Naturally, it starts by pounding the spiciest chili you know into a fine paste with a little bit of sugar and lime to make a spicy vinaigrette base. Into that base goes the toppings, thinly sliced onions, ripe tomato wedges, and cooked drained noodles. Coat the noodles in the sauce first to flavor them, then add half of the ramen seasoning packet for extra heat, saltiness, umami. Add some ground pork along with onions, tomatoes, a handful of cilantro, stems included. Mix it all together and just visually, this is so stunning. Toss until everything is fully coated, plate it up, and I couldn't help but sneak in a cheeky bite.
Wow.
Add an extra squeeze of lime and look at her. Wow. This was my favorite cold instant noodle dish. It was insanely good.
Number 1. Unbeatable. It's spicy, it's salty, it's acidic. You get a huge umami boost coming from the MSG and the sauce packet. Coriander is super fresh. The tomatoes adds juiciness. There's something magical that happens in the act of pounding. Not a baby, but Yum Mama. Wow, spicy, but it's so delicious. Holy smokes!
Number 1, unbeatable. If there's one thing I respect about Japanese people, it's that they're not ashamed to try new things with their food, even if it's freaky as heck.
Ice cream? Ice cream?
So when I saw ice cream ramen, I knew I had to try it, and in my head, Buldak was the only one that made the most sense. And you know what?
Literally tastes like Buldak carbo.
The cold sensation of the ice cream with the hot and spicy ramen, the textural contrast was pretty freaking slay. 7 out of 10 for ice cream ramen for ingenuity. I'm gonna show you a little magic trick. Oh, looky here. Just a little innocent Korean girl trying to eat some noodles. Psych! Gotcha good. This is the TikTok viral flying noodles. And let me show you how to make them.
So these are just cooked noodles.
Place the cooked noodles in a strainer over a pot of warm neutral oil. Hold the noodles up with chopsticks in the shape you want and ladle the hot oil over them repeatedly. The gentle heat slowly dries and crisps the noodles so they hold their flying noodle form without burning. You'll see the noodles go from slightly translucent to more opaque. Once they hit that stage, you can take your hands off. Wow, magic! Take it out of the oil and it should pop right out of the strainer in that perfect bowl shape. Set it aside to cool and fully crisp up. For the sauce, saute onions and cabbage just until softened but still crunchy. Then add your frozen seafood mix. Pour in water and the ramen soup packet. I used Nagasaki Jjamppong and let it all simmer together. Thicken it slightly with potato starch so the noodles don't get soggy right away. Then just pour the sauce over the crispy noodle bowl and look how perfectly it fits.
Actually harder than I thought. I like the texture, I like the visual, and it's fun. It's a very good recipe. Surprising 9 out of 10. Is it just me, but do you ever get so hungry before you go to sleep that you start dreaming about chili oil noodles? Well, I do. We're making my iconic chili oil ramen recipe.
So get your ongdongis, aka fat asses, and grab a packet of shin ramen. I like my noodles al dente, so I cook them for about 3.5 minutes, then rinse them in cold water and drain well. For the sauce, we're using 2/3 of the soup packet, a crack of black pepper, a teaspoon of black vinegar, sesame seeds, and minced garlic. Heat up 2 tablespoons of neutral oil until it's just about to smoke, then pour it in straight into the bowl and you'll hear the spices sizzle. Look at that chili oil. You can see the aromatics bloom and coat your noodles in all that sauce. Now prepare a super scorching Chinese style fried egg. This isn't some sunny side egg bullshit. This is super scorching fried egg, Chinese style with these bubbles and ridges. Add enough green onions for garnish to give you a heartburn throughout the night and crown it with a crispy fried egg. Break the egg apart with your chopsticks and let the yolk ooze over our chili oil ramen, coating everything in the thick, spicy, scallion-y goodness. And make sure you get a little bit of that crispy egg in every bite.
I know I made this, but it's really freaking good. The creaminess of the egg yolk and the crispy egg whites, along with the spicy chili oil covered noodles with a splash of vinegar, just lighten it up a little bit, and the crunch of green onion. Whoever thought about this, it's a genius. 10 out of 10, no bias. Maybe there is a little bit. That was 100 ways of making instant ramen. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was a biggie for us to film. It took us over a month, but it was well worth it to show you guys all the different ways to see how utilitarian a bowl of ramen is. Just because it's ramen doesn't mean that it's cheap and whatever food, it is really what you make of it. The world is your packet of ramen ready to take you places on a first-class seat of MSG. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment. And also, if you have any instant ramen hacks that I didn't cover in this 100 series, let me know so I can judge you. That's everything. Hope you enjoyed this one. I had so much fun making this, and I'll see you again next week. Bye! Love you! I miss rice. I'm gonna eat rice for a whole month. Every day. Watch me.